There's a few, like if you look at the 16 commandments of Poon, there's some, I know, sorry, but there's a few I think are just gold gems in this that are really good marriage advice. Okay. Number one, never say I love you first. Women want to feel like they have overcome an obstacle to win a man's heart. They crave the challenge of capturing the interest of a man who has other women competing for his attention and eventually prevailing over his grudging reluctance to award his committed exclusivity. This is where we get into women don't want a broke ass dude. Women want a man who other men want to be and other women want to bang. So usually that comes from this, I want to say, ego association that women have with their mate. Let's see. The man who gives his emotional world away too easily robs women of the satisfaction of earning his love. Though you may be in love with her, don't say it before she has said it. Show compassionate restraint for her need to struggle toward yin fulfillment, like yin yang. Inspire her to take the leap for you, and she'll return the favor 1,000-fold. Again, women want to feel like they have overcome obstacles to earn your affection, your attention, and everything else. If you are a guy for whom other women will compete for your attention, you are the man that other women want to bang. I don't see how this is in any way like controversial or hard to wrap your head around. This applies to marriage as well. You need to be the guy. You still have to be that guy. And I think that's one of the, maybe, we talk about, who says I love you first. And by the way, there are studies. I should dig those up. Research of who said I love you first. And it is almost unanimously the guy who professes love for a woman before the woman does. This flies in the face of that. And I think probably rightly so. This is like, to say this is like very controversial. I've gone through these with Pat Campbell back in the day, but I think a lot of the 16 commandments of Poon really apply to marriage as well. Make her jealous, flirt with other, this is number 2. Make her jealous, flirt with other women in front of her. Do not dissuade other women from flirting with you. Women will never admit this, but jealousy excites them. The thought of you turning on another woman will arouse her sexually. No girl wants a man who no other woman wants. Got it? That's the operative right there. No girl wants a man that no other woman wants. The partner who harnesses the gale storm of jealousy controls the direction of the relationship. This also relates with Mystery's assertion back in the day, and I happen to agree with this. You'll find this in my 5th book, The Rational Male Player's Handbook, is that for a woman to make an emotional investment in a guy, or if she has already, you'll know that she has made an emotional investment with you. But a woman cannot feel like genuine desire or genuine love for a guy that she can't feel jealousy for. She has to have that sort of sense of, I don't say dread because everybody hates it when I use that term, but a sense of dread and a sense of anxiety and a sense of value of you that she dreads the idea of losing. And when a woman feels jealousy for a guy, that's the precursor to her being emotionally invested in that guy, because if she didn't, you would be valueless. She has to be in somewhat jealous of you. Now, the only part I would like sort of take a step back on is flirt with other women in front of her. I wouldn't do that out of like, I wouldn't do that actively. I would do that passively. Now, you probably heard me talk about like passive dread and active dread. I hate to even use the term dread, but the term is the only thing that really describes it. So I do agree with this. Do not dissuade other women from flirting with you. That's third party dread. That's passive dread. Flirting directly, openly, overtly flirting with other women. Like if you're at the bar or the club or whatever, and the waitress thinks you're cute and you go and you overtly flirt with her. That's, people say, well, she'll just get jealous. She'll think you don't love her, blah, blah, blah. That's more direct and more overt. I think that passive dread and that anxiety that is involved in passive dread also stresses pre-selection. You're the guy that other women want to get with. No girl wants to be with a man that other women want, no other woman wants. That's the problem with marriage, by the way, is you become the guy that no other woman wants because she already has you. So the paradox is the things that made you like sexy and irresistible and the things that made her want to compete for your attention with other girls is gone when you have that committed relationship. Like I've said this when I was trying to describe the difference between say like passive dread and active dread. The active part, of course, is more overt. It's almost like an ultimatum. I would say, only in the most extreme cases should guys ever resort to that. But passive dread is third party dread. It's third party social proof, third party pre-selection. So if your wife's girlfriends are saying, man, Rolla's looking real good these days, man. If you don't want him, I do. Yeah, and not so many words, right? Boy, you're so lucky to have a guy like that, blah, blah, blah. Lean into that shit. Or if a woman starts flirting with you, lean into it. Don't dissuade it. Let it say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I can't. All the girls love me. What can I say? But I'm with you, right? What that is it's a sort of an ego building for women to say, you got the guy that other men want to be and other women want to bang. And I'm with you. So that builds up that sort of like ego association that women have with the man that they're with. That's really sort of the crux of the make her jealous rule right there. Now, should you actively go out and do that? No, but don't dissuade opportunities when that happens, or instances when it happens. Don't try to diffuse that jealousy. Go with it. Even if you think that she's going to hold out on you, anytime she's holding out on you, there's still that part in the back of her head that's saying, you know what? He's still the guy that other women want to get with. And damn, I got him. I locked this guy down. That's the long and the short of that whole thing. But the problem is that in marriage, it's very difficult to like those opportunities to sort of display higher value or to get social proof are very few and far between. Or pre-selection. Most guys, once they're married, don't have any opportunities to show off pre-selection in any way. Not in a way, I should say, that doesn't seem contrived, right? Some guys will try to do that. They'll try to put themselves into a position where it's like, hey, I'm the man. And if their wife has been with them long enough, they'll go, get the fuck out of here, because they know you and your personality. So like trying to like sort of engineer those opportunities always comes off as like you're pandering or it seems contrived. But when they happen organically, know that they're happening and lean into it. 3, you shall make your mission and not your woman your priority. This is good marriage advice. Okay. Forget all those romantic cliches of the leading man proclaiming his undying love for the woman who completes him. Despite whatever protestations to the contrary, women do not want to be the one. What did we just show you? I just showed you the soulmate girl that was on there. They don't want to be the one or the center of your, the center of your world. Okay. Or at the center of a man's existence. They, in fact, want to subordinate themselves to a worthy man's life. Let me repeat that. They, in fact, want to subordinate themselves to a worthy man's life purpose, to help him achieve that purpose with their feminine support and to follow the path he lays out. You must respect a woman's integrity and not lie to her that she is your everything. She is not your everything. And if she is, she will soon not be anymore. That's a very important marriage advice. Once she becomes your everything, I've had guys ask me this before. They'll say, Roll, I heard what you say about one-itis. I hear what you say, like this is old school, right? I hear what you say about one-itis. I hear what you say about soulmate, the soulmate myth and all this stuff, but shouldn't she be your soulmate? Shouldn't you have one-itis for the one woman that you're going to have? You're going to be fucking for the rest of your life. I mean, on paper, you're going to be fucking this girl for the rest of your life. She's into you. You're into her. Shouldn't she be the one? And the thing is making that distinction between being in a very long-term, loving, healthy, successful, however you want to say it, sex-filled, desire-filled relationship is never based on the mythology of the soulmate. And should she be important to you? Yes, absolutely she should be. But when she becomes the focus of your life, that's when problems start to happen. That's why the title, this is the third rule, right? You shall make your mission and not your woman your priority. Sometimes I've told guys this is that when you get into a long-term relationship, your passion, your goals, your ambitions, your business, your whatever it is that you're doing, whatever that you are, your sort of life's purpose is, needs to become the other woman. it needs to become the thing that she has to, your wife or your girlfriend or whatever has to compete with to get your attention. I hate to even use this because it's been done to death, and like stupid people have used this, like let's say disingenuously. But when we have said in the past that men need to become the prize, right? They need to become the prince. They need. There's a chapter in the book, in my first book, about the prince. You need to become the guy that other men want to be and other women want to bang. Got that? But the thing is in doing so, you have to make your attention and your concern and your love valuable, because too much circulation makes the price go down. If you wear your emotions on your sleeve, I've talked about this when I talk about like vulnerability. If you think that vulnerability is in some way like good game, you are gravely mistaken. Vulnerability is not something that you'd wear on your sleeve. Your emotions should not be something you wear on your sleeve. They should be rewards. They should be rewards for her investment in you. I'm not saying don't be emotional with your wife or be emotional with your girlfriend. You're going to do it anyways. There's no way around that. But I think too many people think that the red pill is all about like, oh, you should just cut off your emotions. No, but you should guard them. And you should also understand that men don't process emotion the same way that women do. We don't cry at the end of Titanic. We cry at the end of Saving Private Ryan. We're not built that way. Our brains are not wired the same way for emotion. So ladies, here's the other thing. You want some marriage advice, ladies? Here's some advice for you. Understand that your husband's brain does not work like your brain. His brain is fundamentally wired differently than yours. The great thing is that men and women are better together than we are apart. So if you go and you look at like the fMRI studies of like the neural synapses, and I don't pretend to be a neuroscientist. It's not I'm not a brain surgeon, but if you go and you look at that and you look at the complementarity between the way a woman's synapses are wired in her brain and the way a man's, it's usually like vertical and horizontal, is wired. When you put them and you overlay them together, they complement one another like very well, like almost by design, almost by, let's say complementary coevolution, if you like that. But almost by design, we're better together than we are apart. And the thing that you want to know what will kill your marriage, ladies who are in wife school, right? The one thing that will kill your marriage before anything else is understanding that his brain doesn't process emotions like yours does. Stop scolding him for not being as emotional as you. Stop thinking he's emotionally stunted because he's not emotionally available, or it's emotional intelligence, which is horseshit. The reason why you have those expectations is because you've lived in a society that has built up this idea of this blank slate ideology that men ought to be just as emotional as women. And if it weren't for society and misogyny and patriarchy, that they would be just as emotional. They would just be women. Men are just unperfected women. And the biggest you want to know where we get this crisis of masculinity? It's in the expectation that men ought to emote like women, ought to think like women, ought to be as sensitive as women, ought to listen. You're not a good listener. Yeah, because I'm a dude. I'm filtering out for information. I prioritize information above context, above feelings. What's the problem? How can I solve the problem? It's like the video. It's not about the nail, right? I really got to show that sometime. That video, I will probably get a copyright strike for it, so I'll have to demonetize it. But I will definitely do a full dedicated show to that. But it's the nail sitting in the woman's head, and she doesn't really care about solving the problem, which is the nail in her head, and you can just pull it out and solve your problem, kind of thing. She wants to sit there and be heard and vent. It's biting. It's in my head, and okay. We could just pull the nail out and solve all this problem. You don't understand. You're not a good listener. That's what I'm talking about. Men and women do not process emotion the same way. There are countless studies about that, countless research about this. Hell, as far back as like the mid 2000s. Men and women are fundamentally different down to like the cellular level. So if you want some good advice, ladies, stop thinking that your husband needs to work on the relationship and make an effort to become a better woman. No, you need to become a better woman by understanding that men and women are different. And you should embrace that and love that and get into that rather than trying to say, well, we're working on the relationship. We got to make, he has, he's making an effort. We are working on the relationship. No, he is. And the litmus test for that is he's got to be a more perfected female. Stop thinking like that. So then this comes back to this. You shall make your mission and not your woman your priority. Again, women don't want to be she's not your everything. And if she is, she will soon not be anymore. Because women want an ambitious guy. They want a guy who can kick ass and take names, of course. What is that? What did they say? I think it was it Justin Waller or somebody said, that women want a guy who can slit throats and change a diaper. And okay, great, awesome. But in doing so, you can't be his focus. That's the thing, is like women always say that they try to figure this shit out when it comes to like respect. Like men want to feel respected. No, men have to earn respect. So you can't just up and give it to him. You just can't just pat him on the head. This is pandering. That's all it is. It's contrived. It's pandering. Oh, he just needs more respect. No, he needs you to suck his dick is what he needs you to do. He needs you to fucking like arch your back and take it from behind. That's what he needs you to do. It's not about respect, because for men, respect comes with performance. So it's like, oh, I respect him. Now here's the other thing is I don't want necessarily a woman's respect. I want her admiration. And women can't respect guys who are their equals. They cannot look up to men who are their equals. And the guy who is making you his entire world is not ambitious, because you're the one, you are his goal, making you happy, keeping you content, trying to figure out like your freaking head games, being a good listener and being a more perfected woman. That becomes his goal. You need to nip that in the bud from the time you say I do, or actually before that. You need to be with the man. Here's the thing, ladies, if you are ever considering getting married to a guy or a long-term relationship, however you pair bonding, however you want to term this, if you're considering this, the main question you need to ask is, 1, do I like fucking this guy? 2, do I admire this guy? Do I look up to this guy? Is this guy somebody who I really want to be with for the long haul, because every day is exciting with him and it's fun and he's adventurous and he's ambitious and he's a man? Is he a guy that you see as someone you could look up to and admire? Most women will say, no, I don't. That's what they have to. That's the sort of the balance. That's the concern that most women have, is well, he'll do. Most women marry the he'll do guy rather than the I admire this guy. I really think he's going places. I admire what he's about. I admire his body and his spirit and his mind. Right? Most women don't get into those relationships. So if you want to, ladies, if you want to vet a guy for marriage, ask yourself one simple question. Do I admire this guy? Do I like fucking him, and do I admire him? Most of the time it's yeah, I like fucking him, but I don't admire him. He's kind of a douchebag. Okay. Or he's not what I would look for in a long-term partner. And again, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but we'll come back to that. Don't play by her rules. This is number 4. If you allow a woman to make the rules, she will resent you with a seething contempt even a rapist cannot inspire. The strongest woman and the most strident feminist wants to be led by and submit to a more powerful man, a worthy man. I put that, actually, it was Royce who put this in there. Polarity is the core of a healthy, loving relationship. I'll say that again. Polarity, not similarity, not compatibility. Polarity is the core of a healthy, loving relationship. What do you mean by that, Rolo? We'll continue. She does not want the prerogative to walk all over you with her capricious demands and mercurial moods. Her emotions are a hurricane. Her soul is a saboteur. Think of yourself as a bulwark against her tempest. When she grasps for a pillar to steady herself against the whipping winds, or yearns for an authority figure to foil her worst instincts, it is you who has to be there. Strong, solid, unshakable, and immovable. Does that sound like a lot of the same shit that you hear coming out of the mouths of the Tates, or even Justin Waller, or Matt Walsh, or the rest of these guys? Does that sound like that? Hell, I've heard almost this verbatim from positivity guys right now, or guys who are red pill and now they're not red pill. Almost word for word. You've got to be her strong pillar. You've got to be her lighthouse in the storm, right? So, but there's a gem in there. Let me get to the gem here really quickly. Polarity is the key to a healthy, loving relationship. Don't try to out vulnerable her. Don't try to out sensitive her. Don't try to do that shit. Don't try to be a better woman than she is, because it's opposites that attract, not likes. And that's the fundamental flaw of most guys make, particularly when they're married. And ladies, again, this is marriage advice here, right? Ladies, don't make your man your best girlfriend. Stop doing that. I hate to even use the term allow him to be a dude. You're not allowing him to be a dude. He should already want to be that way, but don't try to henpeck him and don't try to like browbeat him into becoming like, let's go to Starbs and catch up. No. Understand he's going to communicate differently than you. That's the polarity part. Men and women are different. Embrace that difference and stop trying. And guys too, by the way. Stop trying to identify with the feminine. Anima animus. Carl Jung. Fuck you. No, you're a dude. She's a chick. That's how it works. And that's how it's worked for a very long time, right up until 1965, right? All this bullshit. Like I'll harp on this one more time. Like when Destiny is talking to, I forget who it was. Was it Amy Dangerfield? He's talking about, oh yeah, men need to be like, masculine up to like 100% and just have feminine up to like 97%. And women need to be feminine 100% and like masculine 97%. That is homogeny. That is androgyny. That is trying to be why would you need a chick? Why would you need a guy? You're the best of both worlds. It's narcissism is what it is. I don't need a man. I want a man. Now, well, the 3% of me that's still, overly masculine wants a woman. That's simply not the way it works. There are masculine traits and there are feminine traits. If you want to talk about like gender this and, the social contrivances and the blank slate and all that shit, I've already done those shows, believe it or not. But the fact that we're still talking about anima. So get in touch with your feminine side. Fuck you. Get in touch with your masculine side, because again, healthy relationships are based on what, children? Polarity. She needs to be, here's the thing. If you're 100%, you're 100% feminine and 0% or 100% masculine and I don't know, 10% feminine because you like want to do your daughter's hair or something like that in the morning, whatever it is, you have kind of like that little, okay, maybe I'll entertain her girly girl, stuff, right? Whatever. But you're 100% masculine and you're 10% feminine, and your wife is 100% feminine and 10% masculine. You're a pretty good compatible polarity couple. Those are the ones that are in it for the long haul. Those are the ones that understand their roles and understand that his strengths match your weaknesses and vice versa. And that's another marriage advice. Understand, get with a guy whose strengths complement your weaknesses and your strengths complement his weaknesses. And I don't mean weaknesses, but like deficits, let's just say. So like, for instance, would you like an example? I will give you an example. This is my life. This is my marriage. This is not your marriage. This is not advice of this is not a how-to here. Okay. So when I am talking with my wife, or like people have asked me this before, they said, does your wife read your books? Does she understand what you're talking about? Yeah, she does. But I talk about things from a more like intellectual perspective, like intelligence. My wife has wisdom, like application. If you were making like a role-playing game character, like, this strength, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, charisma, dexterity, right? You have all that stuff. In my character sheet, my intelligence is pretty high. My wisdom might not be all that. Now, my wife's intelligence might be lower than mine, but her wisdom is higher than mine, right? And so as a result, those two complements make up very, very, very well. So what are your stats, right? What are your stats as an individual, as a man? Is your strength like up around, I don't know, 15 or 16? And your wife's is at an 8 or a 9? Well, you're complimenting for her deficits, because women are always going to be physically weaker than men. Period. End of story. By and large, on average, that's the case. Sorry, that's sexual dimorphism right there. So how do you make that compatibility? That's the thing, is people are like, you want to know the number one mistake people make when they're looking for a quote unquote long-term partner, or they're vetting for a wife or a husband or whatever. It's they're looking for similarities. They're looking to like find somebody who is just like them. Stop it. Don't do that. I mean, you want to be compatible. I get it. You want to share similar values. You want to have similar, tastes in music or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. Like, women will, by the way, a compliment, like a girl that wants to be, it's into you, she's going to adopt that shit anyways. She's going to be a Golden Knights fan all of a sudden. Ladies, if you Access Vegas girls, if I see you wearing Golden Knights hats, or if I see you like, listening to Swedish death metal, I'm going to know. I see you. I get it, right? But if you see women trying to make themselves more compatible or more similar, that's a mistake. That's not polarity. Like, if my wife is into like, 80s power ballads or like, country music, and I'm into Opeth, Earth, or Behemoth. I'm trying to think of the most extreme like black metal I can come up with. But if that's my taste in music, hey, we still love each other. We're still about it. I'm not going to take her to a Death Angel concert for sure, but I might go see a REO Speedwagon with her once in a while, just because I love her, and I'll go, okay, I can do it. But that's the complementarity. That is the polarity for that relationship. Now, I could continue on. I don't want to go through all of these today, but I wanted to point out a few. The main one I wanted to get to was the polarity being a key element in a healthy relationship, because I think too many people think that if they're too dissimilar with their spouse, that it's a recipe for disaster. And I would exactly argue the opposite of it. It's the accepting of those differences. It's embracing that polarity rather than saying we should be more alike. No, you should not be more alike. Fuck's sake, man. Opposites attract. It's not likes that attract.